To society, Alexander Sinclair was a charming rake. To the revenue men of Cornwall, he was someone far more dangerous. To himself, he was simply a man who loved the risk. She had been born to silk and chandeliers. Now she scraped pots in a brothel kitchen in Roscoff, careful to stay invisible. Celestine Lavelle survived by being forgotten. The revenue came out of nowhere. Alexander gave one order, into the storm. The ship didn't survive it. Neither, it seemed for a moment, would he. The sea spat him out on a French beach at dawn. He was alive, barely, technically, and with nothing. The Earl of Falmouth, stranded in France, covered in sand. She could have walked past him. She had every reason to. Instead, Celestine Lavelle dragged a waterlogged English stranger up a French beach entirely by herself. He woke up demanding to know where he was and who she was, in English, which she luckily spoke. She handed him water and told him to stop shouting. He obeyed. She told him where she worked and watched him understand what that meant. The threat to her was unspoken, but entirely clear. Alexander went very still and very serious. He had contacts, a plan, and absolutely no intention of leaving without her. "You're coming with me!" Celestine looked at the kitchen door, then back at him. "Obviously," she said. They left at midnight. Fishing boat, bribed sailor, one extremely close call. Alexander pulled her into a shadow and didn't breathe for 30 seconds. Neither did she. There was nothing to do on the crossing but talk. No rank, no disguise, no audience. Just a smuggler and a kitchen maid on a boat, being completely honest with each other. Cornwall at dawn. Alexander knew every cliff and cove. Celestine stood on English soil for the first time and breathed in like she'd forgotten how. He watched her quietly. His brother's wife met them at the door and didn't ask a single prying question. She simply said, "You must be exhausted," and took Celestine's hand. It was almost too much. He told himself it clearly. She deserved better than him. He would find her a good match, a safe home, a proper future. He was absolutely not going to fall in love with her. She told him plainly, she didn't need a guardian. She'd survived revolutionary France and a brothel kitchen alone. She did not require Alexander Sinclair to arrange her future. She spoke 4 languages and had survived a revolution. English society's rules about hat angles and calling card protocol were, she felt, a slightly disproportionate concern. She asked him something real, and he answered it, honestly, which surprised them both, standing on the cliffs in the dark, not pretending at all. Then they walked home separately. The gentleman was everything Alexander had planned for her, respectable, kind, thoroughly appropriate. Alexander smiled, made introductions, and quietly hated every moment of it. She said, "I know you're jealous, Alexander. I know you're being noble about it. I find both things equally infuriating." Then she went inside. He had no response. An informer had talked. The revenue knew where he was. Alexander's double life had just become everyone's problem, including the woman he'd sworn to protect. He told her she had to leave. She said no. She had already run from one country. She was not running again. "You can be appalled," she said, "or you can make a plan." He told her who he actually was, under the reputation. Not the Earl, not the smuggler, just a man who had never thought himself worth keeping. She didn't look away. He kissed her. Then he pulled back and started listing reasons it was a terrible idea. Celestine waited until he finished, then said, "Are you done? Good," and kissed him back. The revenue came in numbers. They searched every room. Alexander stood in his own hallway facing the rest, and for the first time in his life, had something worth losing. Celestine walked down those stairs and spoke to the revenue with the voice of a French countess. Cool, precise, devastating. She bought Alexander time. He stared at her. The revenue left. The operation was over. Alexander sat in his study for a long time staring at nothing. He had always defined himself by the risk. Now what? She sat with him in the dark and said she saw who he was without the risk. A man worth something. He looked at her like she'd said it in a language he was still learning. He proposed by listing in detail every reason she shouldn't accept him. She said yes before he got to the 4th one. "I know," she said. I'm saying yes anyway. She told them plainly. She knew exactly who he was and what she was choosing. Not swept away, decided. Celestine Lavelle had never done anything by accident in her life. The Countess of Falmouth ran the estate within 3 weeks of arriving. The staff adored her. The tenants respected her. Alexander watched all of this with enormous helpless pride. He used to stand on these cliffs for the thrill of what was out there. Now the thing worth having was standing beside him. The Earl of Falmouth had finally been tempted into something real.